And welcome back to another episode of Alive Partner TV. I'm your host, Dr. Mario, and I want to give you the warmest of welcomes today to this YouTube live that we do every single Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And today we have a really special topic, and this is something that I have found to be extremely relevant because I have been receiving a lot of messages in my community after putting some videos and putting some emails out and so on, pertaining to the subject of how to neutralize your emotions. And I have found this to be a tremendous path to deepening love again. So today we're going to be talking about how to neutralize. And one of the things that I have found it to be extremely interesting as I have seen the exchange of people in the community, whether it's been on Facebook or on Instagram. And if you're not following us over there, I'm going to invite you to actually come and join us in Instagram or Facebook, or maybe you can find us on X and also on LinkedIn, because in such way we can communicate with you. We can be sending you information about when we're going live, when we're having particular events, or in some cases when we have special courses that are taking place within our community and everybody else that we're reaching out to. So one of the videos that I put out recently had to do with the aspect of how to neutralize your emotions. And as it turns out, things started to go on wildfire in social media when I actually made that video. And in fact, if you have not seen that video, I'm going to invite you to click on the link below. You're going to be able to see it here, where you can actually click on this and take a look at this video to see if it actually resonates, or maybe you're completely against it, or like, okay, I completely get it. And one of the reactions that I was seeing from people in the community and people who were finding this video is like, no, 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 that's bad advice. This is something you should not be doing. How could you possibly be telling people to neutralize their emotions and not feel? This is just completely wrong. Well, as it turns out, at no point in time I am saying that neutralizing emotions is equivalent to not feeling. And I'll say that again. When I say neutralize your emotions, that is not speaking to the aspect of not feeling. In fact, if you have been following our newsletter or you've been seeing some of our videos, immediately you're going to have the reaction like completely the opposite, right? Because one of the things that I talked the most about is the fact that the most underutilized power tool, super power that we have as human beings, is the aspect of being able to feel. And to make things even more interesting in this particular week in this topic is the fact that I have had community members and people that have come across my work that are in situations where on the verge of divorcing, they're separating, maybe they recently separated. Some people, have been in this situation where simply they're at wit's end, they don't know what's going on. In some of the cases, they have even shared very vulnerable information saying, hey, I'm in a situation where, my husband or my wife cheated on me. And do you think that it is possible to be able to rekindle and save the relationship? These are really powerful topics and very challenging topics. And if you're watching this and you're one of those people, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is something that is super difficult. And even if you are in a relationship where perhaps you're not divorced or divorcing, or you're not separated, but you have had moments in the lifespan of the relationship where you felt as though that's where you were heading to, even if you're not there now and that's something that may be behind you, let's say, you'll be completely able to relate to the fact that whoever is going through that period in the relationship, in the life of the relationship, it is super challenging. So going to this topic of neutralizing, so what exactly does that mean? You see, no matter whether you're aware of it or not, human beings, we are feeling beings. And I'm going to send a special message to men as I'm speaking to both men and women in this moment. For men, it is not intuitive to be accessing the feeling body. And when I'm talking about the feeling body, I'm not referring to the fact that you're softening your feelings, that you're becoming woman-like in the way you behave and the way you proceed and how you treat your woman. But it's actually speaking to the aspect of turning on this amazing creation, which is your body. And I actually like to think of it, and I talk about this in the Alive Partner course, as the most sophisticated form of any radar known to mankind, the human body. We are covered with nerve endings that all the time are picking up information. And by best of studies that have been out there, if you like the science part of all of this stuff, it is said that perhaps you're able to take maybe 10% of the information that your body is sensing all the time. So all that 90%, and those people who are most sensitive, is actually completely going over your head, but it's still being captured, it's still being, noticed by your body and by your brain. It's actually, the communication is pretty seamless between the two. But then the question becomes, how can you tap into your feeling body to start to navigate life situations, and not that you completely decouple the brain and the body, but in fact that you're using this feeling body to be able to inform the brain so that the two of them can work together and make better decisions. And one of the things that I have found, as I was saying earlier, is particularly for men, this aspect of tapping into the feeling body is not something that is intuitive. As you're listening to this, and if you're a man or identify yourself with, the male gender, and you say, well, that's not me, I'm actually a super sensitive guy, I'm completely in tune, I get it, I feel things, great. But you may just consider yourself one of the very, few, in that less than 1%, let's call it, of men who actually fall into that category. The majority of guys, that is not where we gravitate. That's not where men typically are residing. That's not where we're living, in contradistinction to women, for example. So women are, in general, far more adept to feeling and being in touch with what the feelings are within their body and what's around them, right? So when I talk about the aspect of neutralizing emotions, it doesn't mean that you're trying to suppress it, you're trying to block it, you're trying to move away, look away from what's actually happening. No, the aspect of neutralizing refers to allowing sensations to be felt to such an extent, with such degree of presence to them, being really, really aware of what's going on here. What is it that I'm feeling in my body? And allowing that to be there with the knowing, which is something that I teach people in my community, men and women, that this is going to pass. And if you're saying, well, you know what, I've had this, situation where I'm angry about X or Y situation that happened in my life, and that's lasted for years. I can tell you that the chemical reactions that are happening inside of you that are leading to the perception that you have that this is not going away are being fed on a regular basis, fuel, if you will, emotional fuel, for them to continue to burn at all times that you are conscious of that particular event. And that's what keeps them alive. Otherwise, there's going to be, by default, this nature to the emotions where they will burn out, and all the chemistry that is needed to keep them there and have you be aware of them will subside and go away until something happens and you feed it again, and it just completely fuels the fire up again, so it lights up again. So there is this aspect of finality. They're finite. They begin and they end. They arise and they pass. And this is a very important distinction, because in neutralizing your emotions, as I'm speaking in this particular context, no matter what they are, knowing that they will pass and staying right here with whatever is arising is going to be the aspect that speaks to the neutralization, to the allowance of those emotions to pass, so that you can be in a state where other opportunities, other awarenesses, other states of you being and relating to yourself and ultimately to the person in front of you or a group of people can change because of allowing that. And there's multiple ways that you can get that to that. And this is not the subject of the conversation today in this episode, but I want you to know and be very aware that that is what the aspect of neutralizing the feelings and emotions refers to. So if somebody tells you, oh, you know what, that is bad advice, that's actually not a great thing, you're kind of like putting that away, you're not really paying attention. No, totally the opposite. For you to be able to get to the point of neutralizing what you're feeling, you must be in a state where you're receiving, you must be in a state where you are allowing it, you must be in a state where you're feeling everything that is right there for you, no matter how pleasant it is, or conversely, how unpleasant that experience, that feeling that you're having in your body may be. And one of the things that I created, if you don't have any tools to relate to this, I realized that it was important to be able to teach people, like, how do I do that? And so in order to be able to address that, I created a special audio tool, which is called Awakening Your Feeling Body. Awakening Your Feeling Body. If you have not seen this, it's completely free and you can download it. All you have to do is just go to alivepartner.com/feel, FEEL, and I'll put the link right here below so that you can actually click on it and get it and download it. This will activate this sense of, how do I have my body be woken up so that it's actually feeling, and how do I get to the point where I can start neutralizing what's coming up? And more important than the how we do that, okay, I want to really pose a question, which is, to me, the most important one, which is, why? Why even bother doing any of this? And what I have found after 25 years and investing so much financially, time, and so on into these subjects, going to different courses, reading all the books out there, going to the experiences, just living through all of that, also in my marriage, and a very, very conscious and successful marriage, is the fact that if you don't really embark on the journey of having your own why is it that I need to do that? Every day that goes by that you're not catering to that why is it important? It's almost as though you're sitting down on a bench and you're building these special triggers. Think of it like a little button. And now I'm just like putting all of them and Velcroing them onto my body. And you may be thinking, well, what about that? Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that the more buttons that I have on the surface of my body, the easier it is for people, as I am going through the journey of my daily life, to be bumping into my buttons, to be pushing the buttons. I'm not saying that they want to trigger you, but this is what happens, right? Because they're on you and they're in you. And when we do not have this awareness that not knowing how to neutralize the feelings and emotions that come up for us, it's equivalent of building basically this custom loaded with all sorts of buttons on us. We are simply going to be walking through life, and it would be no different than, let's say you have a finger cut, a hand cut, or something like that. And if you've had any bruise in your body, doesn't it feel like every time that you do something, you're just like bumping into that area that is hurt? And it's almost like everything you do is just there to hurt that further. That's exactly what this feels like. So the more that I invest energy in feeling, not suppressing, oppressing, repressing, and depressing my emotions, but actually heightening how much I feel and putting myself in a state of being able to allow that to go through me, to observe it, which I will tell you in the beginning, it seems like it's impossible to do. And the more that you're aware of the things I'm telling you, the easier it becomes. Just like going, to an Asian restaurant for the first time, and if you've never used chopsticks, it's going to feel to you like it's the hardest thing to do. And the more you do it, it's like you simply go to an Asian restaurant, you grab the chopsticks like it's just a fork and a spoon or a knife, and you use it seamlessly, right? You don't even think about it. You just basically grab it and go. The same thing happens with this aspect of feeling your emotions, and then going into the aspect of observing them, being aware of them, being present to them, and allowing them to go through you from this place of knowing that they will pass. And the more that I can actually observe that, the more I open myself up, I open my heart, I open myself to completely different experiences where I can receive not only myself and what my experience of this moment is, but ultimately I can experience my partner, my wife, a boyfriend, a husband, family member that perhaps you've had very difficult experiences with in the past, you start to experience people very differently because the experience and the relationship that you're having with yourself is completely different. And that is what happens when you start neutralizing the emotions and it becomes a practice and a habit. And furthermore, as I say in the title of this episode, it actually deepens love with, let's say, a partner. Why is that? Because now, whenever something is said, the degree of having this knee-jerk reflex to go into defense mode and basically not allowing the other person to bring to me the gift that that person is in my life, now you start to receive the person in another way. And imagine every time that you have to go and talk to somebody that you experience as being very defensive or a difficult person, like, oh my gosh, I am so not looking forward to speaking with Jim or with Joni or with Mary, because every time that I do this, this happens. Well, what starts to happen is that that degree of annoyance that perhaps used to reside in you, it's not there anymore. All these little triggers and all these buttons have been tossed away, and you basically show up to the moment to feel what's there, completely receptive, and that completely changes the dynamics of how the other person operates. I've seen this over and over again, not just in my personal relationship, but also with the members of my community that have gone through either the Alive Partner course, or perhaps they are in the Wanted Man mentorship program, or maybe in the female specific heart-to-heart mentorship program. Whatever the case may be, this is what starts to happen. And it's extremely compelling. In the beginning, some of the people witnessing the person who has been through the experience of changing these things, they start to say, I, I really don't know who you're being, but whatever you're doing, just keep at it, because you're really amazing. This is really attractive. It changes the dynamics of how is it that we communicate, how is it that we relate. And it ultimately deepens very, very significantly how we relate to one another. And inside of a relationship, particularly if you are one of those people that I was talking about in the beginning of this episode, that you are perhaps on the verge of divorcing, separating, perhaps one of the people left the house and now it's been a couple of weeks of not being with one another, and you're dreading this moment. This feels like you're in the bottom of the barrel here. This is going to be a game changer for you to start feeling this thing and to start opening in ways that perhaps you thought it was not possible for you. Very often when people get to this point, they want to do things just to get the person back, just to do something for the other person, thinking that's going to be the solution. But ultimately, your own journey and transformation and whatever happens inside of you will dictate what will happen very often with the other person. And if you have been following my newsletter, and by the way, if you have not joined it, I'm going to ask you to click on the link below so you can subscribe, so you can start getting the tips and tools that we talk about in the Ally Partner community and I share with you on a daily basis. You're gonna see how these things come up. And all of you that are really going through these kind of situations, I want you to know, and I've said this in my newsletter, and I've said it also in some videos. A lot of these things that happen between men and women are reversible and they're avoidable. You see, the issue is, as I discovered in my journey for almost 30 years, that we haven't really learned the tools of how to do that. And if this is resonating with you, like the video, share it, and subscribe here to the channel, because the more you're informed about this, the more you're feeling into this content, into this information, you're going to start to see and have the awarenesses of how this is playing in your life. And as I like to say, furthermore, you may be the catalyst when you share this video with somebody that you know that is going through difficult situations. This may be the clincher for them. There's a different way to do this. Thank you for sending me that video. And this is something that we encounter. People just start to discover the content and start to discover, wow, that I didn't know about that tip. I didn't know about that tool. Mario, I went ahead and I actually implemented this and it completely changed my life. Now I'm relating to myself and to my couple in a very different way. And this is ultimately what it's about. So today, as I am leaving you with this aspect of neutralizing your emotions, I want to remind you again that neutralizing your emotions is not equivalent to don't feel. No, in fact, you have to feel as much as you can. And if you don't know how to do that, subscribe here so you can get the tips and tools. And like I said earlier, if you go to alivepartner.com feel, FEEL. You'll be able to download absolutely for free this special tool audio that I created so that you can start the journey of waking up your feeling body. It's called Awakening the Feeling Body, so that you start to connect these dots on your own with really powerful, simple to follow tools that you can do anywhere, as basically is shared with you in the audio tool. I am Dr. Mario Teresa Leon, the founder of AlivePartner.com, where we support men and women to be able to go from being dead to becoming alive through the feeling body, so you can have the best relationships you've ever had. And I can't wait to hear your comments wherever you may be tuning in. And if you're actually watching the replay, let me know where you're from and how this is resonating with you. And go ahead and give it a try, because I can guarantee you, so like the many that have gone before you here in the Alive Partner community, that these things are really powerful. They do work, and they can be the tools and tips that change the course of your relationship and put divorce and separation on its tracks and put you in a very different trajectory to come to rekindling and uniting once again. Until next time, I really hope that this resonated with you and made a difference. And I'd also like to remind you that if you want to join us also on Fridays, every week I go live on Instagram at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And I also like to take your questions and comments over there. So don't be shy. Just look for us. You can see the links here below. Click and subscribe, share the video, and I can't wait to see you next time. Have a great day.